Darth Bane was one of the most influential Sith of all time and one of my personal favorites. The man responsible for the destruction of the Sith and the creator of the Rule of Two, the chosen one of the Sith, the Sithari. We've talked about Bane a number of times here, but for this video I wanted to discuss exactly how he managed to wipe out the Sith, leaving only himself and an eventual worthy apprentice to form a new generation. Formerly known as Disillusion, the man who would become Darth Bane began his journey in the Sith as a foot soldier in the unit known as the Gloomwalkers. Disillusion would unconsciously use the Force during this time, which would catch the eye of the higher-ups, so to speak, and he would eventually be paid a visit by Sith Lord Copex, who would offer to take him to the Sith world of Korriban. Disillusion would accept and would take the title of Bane. While on Korriban, Bane would become an incredibly skilled lightsaber duelist thanks to his teacher Lord Kassim. Bane would find himself spending much time in the archives, learning from the Sith of old and relishing their teachings. However, the Sith Lords on Korriban discouraged this, as they considered the archives only relics from a long-forgotten time. However, Bane would continually turn to the teachings of the past Sith and would himself grow in his knowledge and power of the dark side. After learning from these so-called ancient relics, Bane would begin to question the direction of the Brotherhood of Darkness, this generation of Sith which he found himself to be a part of, questioning things such as why they disregarded the title of Darth and instead referred to themselves as Lords and considered all Sith and the Brotherhood to be equal. Bane would continue to grow weary of the Sith and would consider them to be nothing more than pretenders compared to the Sith of old. Bane would cherish information that he learned from writings and artifacts such as holocrons like the one of Darth Revan. It is from the holocron of Revan where Bane would get the idea for the Rule of Two in the first place. Also from this holocron, Bane would learn of something called the Thought Bomb, which we'll get back into in a moment. During this time, the Sith, as well as the Jedi Army of Light, led by Master Hoth, were engaged in a terrible war on the planet Ruusan, while Bane would venture off of Korriban to various planets, learning all that he could from Sith artifacts and teachings, becoming more and more disgruntled in the current Sith of Korriban and the Brotherhood of Darkness. Bane would finally come to a decision. The Sith needed to be destroyed, which is where the previously mentioned Thought Bomb comes in. This great weapon, which was used against Force sensitives, required a group of Sith very powerful in the Force to stand in a circle, hands joined and chanting an incantation which drew upon the dark side of the Force. As the Force continued to be channeled, the minds of the Sith would be united into a single consciousness and shape would be given to the harnessed energy. The summoned power would become so concentrated that reality itself would become distorted. The temperature would drop as frost began to form all around and all light was drawn into the powerful vacuum of the Thought Bomb. Once enough dark energy had been summoned, a clap of the hands would detonate the Thought Bomb, which would wipe out all Force users in the surrounding area, trapping their souls in the sphere that had been born due to the ritual of creating this terrifying weapon. Bane introduced the idea of the Thought Bomb to Lord Khan of the Brotherhood, informing him that this was the way of destroying the Jedi Army of Light and ending the war on Ruusan once and for all. However, unknown to Lord Khan, not only would the Thought Bomb destroy the Jedi they were targeting, but it could also destroy those who were responsible for detonating the Thought Bomb. If anyone did manage to survive, the overwhelming effects would be felt still, and they may never be the same. Bane would give the details on how to achieve the Thought Bomb to Khan, who would take the Sith army into a cave on Ruusan, where they would begin the incantation to summon the weapon. However, 100 Jedi led by Hoth would follow the Sith into the cave in their own attempt to vanquish them and end the bloody war. They were too late. The Dark Lord detonated the Thought Bomb and all 100 Jedi as well as the Sith were wiped out, their souls trapped inside of the power vacuum. Bane had done it. Not only were a majority of the Jedi who were on Ruusan now dead, but Bane had succeeded in manipulating Lord Khan and taking his own life, as well as the lives of his Sith brethren. Even before this, Bane had already taken the lives of another Sith, Lord Cortus, as well as Kassim, the man who trained Bane in lightsaber combat. After all of these events, Bane found himself to be the sole Sith survivor. Exploring the planet after the Ruusan campaign, Bane would discover a young Force-sensitive girl named Zana, who he would raise and train to be his apprentice, and with the rest of the Sith gone, thus began the Rule of Two. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've seen my other videos on Darth Bane, you know he's one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters, so it's a pleasure making more lore content about him. As always, may the Force be with you, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.